After the flood, and after Noah and his sons and their wives went forth from the ark, there was a man begotten by his grandson Cush, whose name was Nimrod. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord, wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, which means confusion. The name Nimrod means rebellion. Nimrod was a rebel against God, and as the leader of the kingdom of Babel, Nimrod was also connected with the building of the Tower of Babel. And they said, "Go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven." According to the historian Josephus, Nimrod said he would be revenged on God if he should have a mind to drown the world again, for that he would build a tower too high for the waters to reach, and that he would avenge himself on God for destroying their forefathers. The motive for building the Tower of Babel, according to Josephus, was to protect humanity against another flood. Before the flood, God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. When God saw that the children of men were building a tower in rebellion against him, he wanted to put an end to it and said, "Go to, let us go down and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech." So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth. Tradition says that Nimrod's wife was also his mother and granddaughter of Noah. According to various legends, Semiramis became pregnant after engaging in an adulterous affair while married to Nimrod. Around this time, Nimrod dies a violent and untimely death. In an effort to retain power and to hide her misdeeds, Semiramis makes the most audacious claim. She publicly declares that upon Nimrod's death, he had been resurrected as the god of the sun. As the sun god, Nimrod used his sun rays to miraculously inseminate Semiramis with a child. This child was thus considered to be divinely conceived. The child's name was Tammuz, which she claimed was the reincarnation of Nimrod. Thus, Semiramis was both Nimrod's wife and mother. After the scattering that occurs at the Tower of Babel, the story of the miraculous conception of this child disseminated throughout the world and led to the rise of sun worship, along with the various birth, death, and rebirth cults that are littered through history. These mystery religions of future generations adopted different names for Nimrod, Semiramis, and their child Tammuz. This was the birth of paganism. The Egyptian Book of the Dead. Now, if you were anything like me, you probably loved to study mythology, and this book might have been your introduction to false gods and goddesses. You have Isis and Horus from Egyptian mythology, which most atheists will say is an older version of Mary and Jesus Christ. And of course, you have other Mary-like and Christ-like deities in other mystery religions, such as Norse mythology, Greek mythology, Roman mythology, and Babylonian mythology that predate Christianity. Why is this so? How was it that there were so many virgin birth religions around the world way before the Christ was even born into humanity? This was the question I've asked myself many years ago. The thing is, the birth of pagan religions came about after the flood, but the prophecy of a virgin birth was declared by God way before that time. In Genesis 3, verses 14 and 15, soon after Satan had succeeded in causing Adam and Eve to sin, God declared to him his fate. The Lord God said unto the serpent, "Because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shalt thou go, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life, and I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel." God told the serpent that the seed of the woman will bruise his head. Now in every case, the seed always comes from a man, which enters the woman, thus the conception of a baby. The enemy knew that this was not to be an ordinary seed, and that this was not to be an ordinary birth. He knew that it would be a virgin birth, and so he devised a plan through Semiramis and fathered these counterfeit virgin birth religions throughout the ancient world, along with the worship of the Son in God's stead. This he did to put doubt in the minds of people by questioning, out of all these counterfeits, which Jesus' story is the authentic. And so today we have atheists ridiculing Christians, saying we don't know what we believe because there are so many religions with a story similar to Christ's. Little did they know, these false religions were set up by Satan to promote false worship and idolatry. So how do we know if God truly does exist? And how do we know which God is the authentic? My name is Tilla, and I believe that Bible prophecy is one of the many strong evidences that God does truly exist, and that the God of the Bible is the one true God. To declare over 2,500 years of human history in pinpoint accuracy, years before it even started coming to pass, is nothing ordinary. And Daniel's account is a very interesting account. The book of Daniel was written about 600 years before the time of Christ. The entire book was written by Daniel the prophet himself, except for chapter 4, which was written by King Nebuchadnezzar. The name Daniel comes from a juxtaposition of two words, Elohim, meaning God, and Dan, meaning judge. The name Daniel means God is judge. The story of Daniel began in a tragedy. God's people have been disobedient to God's law, and since they were stubborn and disobeyed, God had to send them adversity. The nation of Babylon came to destroy Jerusalem and carry away some of their finest and best young people into Babylon, where they were trained in the customs, societies, government, and culture of the Babylonians. Daniel was one of those who were trained to be among the wise men or magicians in Babylon. Now in Daniel 2, King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon had a dream that disturbed him from his sleep, and he had a sense that the dream was important, but he forgot what the dream was about. So he called the Chaldeans. These were some of the wise men of Babylon, and asked them to tell him what the dream was and its interpretation.